Welcome to the Sleepy G Show. I'm the host with the most. My name is Gomez. And tonight, as usual at the Sleepy G Show, there's always a wonderful special guest. I would like to introduce you the host of Movie Lovers TV Lovers Unite podcast, my buddy John. Welcome to the show, bud. What's going on?
Thanks, Gomez. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, it's a pleasure. And this is the second time we're seeing each other. I actually had the wonderful opportunity to come on your show the last time and talk about The Last of Us. And I think that was episode 5 or 6.
I think it was 5, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think it was 5. I can't remember. All I know is we had a lot of fun, and
Yeah, we did.
I can't wait to do it again. I got some beady eyes on a couple of people. I know I rubbed
Right.
someone the wrong way, but she was really
Nah.
cool, and we were
Jamie
laughing.
is cool as hell, though, to
Yeah,
be
she
honest with
is.
you. And matter of fact, I was a target for her, to be
Oh,
honest with you, recently,
oh,
because
were you?
I was picking on Ron Weasley because I did you saw the skit that I did on
Oh,
TikTok, right?
you can't pick on Ron Weasley. That's my boy.
Well, I just said that his parents' check bounced and it was time for him to go back on the train because he couldn't afford to go to Hogwarts. So
He couldn't afford the flying car anymore. That thing broke down for him the
no,
last time he drove with him and Harry driving, and
but
they
I
were
mean,
sober.
so I got in trouble with her for that, and there was also another bit that I did,
Oh, you just
like
bury yourself, John. You're burying
right.
yourself.
At least you got off easy with one strike. I have like 2 strikes against me.
Yeah,
So
but man, I got those eyes when I said something. I'm like, oh shit.
nah, Jamie is cool though.
No, she is.
She's one of my favorite Australian people that I ever
She's the only
encountered.
one. She's the only one I ever met, and the only one I know except for Crocodile Dundee. I don't
Right,
know if
but I
that.
might, but yeah,
I don't know if that counts, but
I think it counts.
all right. Well, I don't know him personally,
But
but I love his movie.
right, but you know what though, man, it was awesome to have that big panel.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, to do The Last of Us, because I think that was what we needed to be able to invite people in that love
Mhm.
this show as much as we do, or
Yeah. It
this
was
TV, or the video games that we love, and just
actually.
talk about it. And we had the same people on. I was actually lucky and blessed to actually have the same people
Mhm.
throughout the whole entire series, all
And
except
that's
maybe
awesome.
a couple of times. Yeah,
Yeah, but that's so cool, and that's so respectful because that just shows John where you are. You know what I mean? As a host of a podcast like me, I'm still small potatoes, but you know what? It's growing, and I love the fact the
mhm,
people I'm meeting, and and that's been a cool branch off, man. Because I'm here, I'm actually finally seeing some of the comments. Like Gomez found his groove. He's doing so well. Check out his sleeve. It's so cool to hear. But I'm so excited for Brian because he's doing really great with my weekly
he's
mixtape.
I really love his show. I really love his my weekly. I told him this even when he was on my show doing the review for that
That
thing
thing
you
you
do.
do.
And I told him, dude, I said, I'm envy of you because you're like a walking, talking Wikipedia when it comes down to music.
Yeah, but I'm
And
the other way with the movies and the video games.
same, that's where I'm. I'm with pop culture as when he's with doing something like that. And I'm
Wait,
like, yeah,
I'm looking forward because we actually did 80s soundtrack, me and
oh,
him.
cool.
So I'm excited when that comes out for us because let me tell you, me and Brian had a kick-ass time. And it's been a while since we've both been on together since he was on my show and Playlist Wars. So to do a 80s movie soundtrack, which we did, which was so hard because we had so many great songs and there's so many one-liners I did with movies. It was kind of funny. Of course, one of them being Ferris Bueller. I'm like, it's so choice, just like that. And so I threw some movie references in my skits and all that. So, but
But that's cool though.
it is, it is. But now you're on the show. Enough about Brian, as we do love him and we wish him the best over there in my weekly mixtape. And when we get together for Playlist Wars, it'll be kick ass like usual. But tonight, what are we doing together, John? What is the big excitement that we're all both pumped for?
So I think that the best way to kick it off is just to get to know me a little bit better, but also too, there's also something else that you wanted to cook up. So I'm gonna let you make. I think you wanted to talk about that too.
Well, we were talking about TV shows that resonate us from the 80s.
Right. Exactly.
So for you and me, we definitely are 80s kids.
Hmm.
I was born in 79 kind of, so I was born in the 70s technically, but I still consider
85 for me.
I'm
So
still considered an 80s kid. So we have nostalgia, but let's start off. John, let's talk about before we get into anything big and all that stuff, but let's tell the people what you're all about. Let's talk about that for a minute or two and let's get going, man.
Okay, so basically, I'm movie lovers, TV lovers unite, of course, like Gomez said at the very beginning. But how it all began was as a Facebook page that I started back in 2015.
Okay.
And then I met somebody that's like, well, look, I want to be part of it. I want to be an admin. So next thing you know, he flips the dollar to do some advertising for it. So I'm not
Okay.
going to go on ahead and advertise for Facebook. So he goes on and he flips the bill for it. So then I told him, let's take a break for a little bit with, just let's see where it goes since now we're growing organically without having to do ads.
Right.
And next thing you know, it grew. So then my next thing was like, well, I love talking movies. I got tired of the reason why I started off the page was because back in 2010, there was this little page called Movie Pilot.
Okay, I kind of remember that somewhat.
And Movie Pilot was basically, we got this covered. And I got tired of seeing fake news
Right.
about movies and movie news and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm going to go ahead and make my own blog, make sure the news is legit before I post it, and do it that way. Then I was like, I want to review movies now. So then I started coming up with the YouTube channel for Movie Lovers Unite,
which I love, by the way. It's
Thank
a great channel. And guys, one thing before John continues on, if you check out his channel, please hit that subscribe button. Let's get these numbers up to you guys, because we love what we do and we want the support from everybody. So sorry, John, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's always important, man, because people need to know.
Thank you, man. I do appreciate the respect for that and everything as well. But, I started off as a YouTube channel. Then because of the YouTube rules and regulations at that time, you have to have 1,000 subscribers if you're going to go mobile, because that's all I had. I didn't have a laptop.
Right.
So you have to have 1,000 subscribers to go mobile. I'm like, I don't have that shit. I don't have that. So anyways, I go on ahead. I take a year off from doing YouTube because of those rules and stipulations. Plus the internet was so slow. Uploading a 5-minute video was a no-go.
Yeah, you're right. At 56K at that time.
Right. So I'm like, what do I do? Because I want to do a podcast. So about a year or two later, 2019 happens. A friend of mine reached out to me at the time. He's like, have you ever thought about doing a podcast? I said, yeah, but I don't know how to do one. He goes, download the Anchor app and start doing your podcast. It's free. I'm like, okay. So next thing you know, I start doing I got the podcast bug.
Yeah, so did I.
And then after that happened, I evolved, and then I came back after that. I found out people just wanted me to shut up because I had like 50 subscribers without even having to do anything.
Right. But that's
so I'm like, okay, I guess right. So I'm like, so I'm growing without doing anything with the channel. So I'm like, wait, so you wanted me to just shut the hell up and not do anything? Okay, that's not a problem. I've been doing that since high school.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, anyways, I'm doing this podcast thing, the audio stuff,
right?
And I'm having a blast with it. Next thing I know, I start growing. I start growing with the audio, and then after that, I evolved into going back to YouTube again, doing lives because I found a back door with StreamYards.
Yeah, StreamYards are good stuff. Yeah.
So I came out through the back door. I'm like, got you now. So that's where I evolved from doing. I went from YouTube being a podcaster, then doing podcaster with YouTube.
Okay.
So now I'm back full time doing both and doing audio and editing and stuff like that.
See, that's what I love about my show, because it was kind of funny. We were talking about this the last couple of days, that I don't edit any of my things. I could be picking my nose and I don't care. You know why? It's Gomez unedited. That's what people want to see.
Well, you see, with me though, okay, whenever it's live, you can't edit nothing. So whatever happens, happens. But with the audio stuff, I edit and I clean that up because of the fact that I don't like having dead air across the board. And I'm afraid people are going to not tune in. So therefore, I go on ahead, I straighten all that up. And that's why it takes me so long.
But that's awesome. You see, with me, in this show, there ain't that much dead air. That's the best part about my show. There, we can easily talk. I had a good friend of mine who's going to be aired in a couple days. In a couple weeks, I mean, in May. And I haven't seen him since high school. And man, the 1 hour and 10 minute show turned into an hour and 45 minutes, but it's nonstop funny because we're talking about the old days, high school, how we met, the difference of height that me and him had. So it was a lot of fun. And that's what I love what I do. And I'm gonna get into some serious stuff coming up in a couple of episodes, actually. We're gonna be
Okay.
talking about autism. And
Matter of fact, I have my son is autistic.
okay, so we're gonna tune into that show in May. Actually, I have a friend of mine that I went to high school with, and we were talking, and she goes, "If you're doing something, I want in." I said, "You're in." We
That's
set it up.
awesome.
May 1st, we'll be doing that show. And then I have a gentleman that I known from again, I used to coach him in high school. His son, I believe is his son or one of his children suffers from cerebral palsy. And we're gonna raise awareness on that too.
Okay.
So we're doing a lot of cool things at the Sleepy G show, and we're gonna start representing some other things too. So which is awesome. But tonight, let's get serious and have some fun tonight.
Okay.
So now we're talking 80s
Okay.
TV shows that we loved and resonate with us. What was one of your favorite TV shows in the 80s?
Okay. So if we're gonna go cartoons,
We can do cartoons, we can do TV show, it
give
don't
me just
matter.
okay. Okay. Well, if I'm gonna go cartoons, I have to go with He-Man. I grew up with
Ooh.
watching Masters of the Universe and things like that. I remember waking up on a Saturday morning just to watch He-Man and stuff like that. I was like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. My mom was like, "It's too early to be up." I'm like, "I haven't watched He-Man," so that was my go-to. That GI Joe, Ghostbusters,
Yep.
uh, TMNT, you name it. I was there through the whole entire couple of hours in
Yes.
front of the tube
Yes.
watching those.
I would watch He-Man. God, He-Man was one, G.I. Joe was the other, Transformers was two, Thundercats was huge with me. I always loved Thundercats.
See,
And
I never watched Thundercats that much,
oh,
but
I
I did
did.
watch a couple of episodes though.
I love Thundercats. That was my shit, man. I'll say it. And yes, you can curse in the show. That was
Okay.
my shit because I loved watching Thundercats. My guy was always Lion-O because of the Sword of Omens, man.
Okay.
He had that sword and I loved it. Just like He-Man had his. Especially he raised up his hand and I got the power
The
and
power.
he turns in from Adam to He-Man. You know what I mean? So it was cool. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, and you love seeing, you know what I mean? And that's something I respect because man, I grew up watching He-Man too.
I grew up watching that, and as far as another thing that I loved was, of course, watching like Punky Brewster when I was a kid.
Who didn't?
That was also another thing that my
Soleil
brother
Moon
got.
Fry, come
Right,
on.
my brother got me into watching Punky Brewster as a kid.
I had no
So
choice. It's
yeah.
when my dad said you're
Mhm.
watching this and you had no choice. And that's the only channel that you ever get to clear. You're watching Punky Brewster. And another great show though in the 80s was Silver Spoons too with Ricky Schroeder.
Yep, I used to watch that too.
Yeah, I was wishing my parents were that rich so I could have a train going through the living room too.
You know what? I was just waiting for my parents to say, "You know what, kid? We've been rich this whole time. And what we're doing is we're trying to prepare you for real life. We wanted
Yeah,
you to be able to know what life is like. So we're actually in the witness protection program, and we were rich,
and
and
then
but now we are not because of the fact that I witnessed something that I wasn't supposed to. So now we want you to go ahead and realize what life is like outside in the streets, so that you
yeah,
can learn what you have."
I still wish that every day.
Me too.
So now that I'm 43, that wish ain't coming true. And I just
No,
got,
I'm 38. That's not happening.
you know what? I'm happy where my life is. I don't need it. I
Right.
feel like I'm the richest guy in the world with my family. So I
Same.
ain't complaining.
But still, then when Ricky had those arcade video game machines in the background and has the
Unreal.
train sets, I'm like, this is what I want. This is the kid that I want to hang out with.
You know what's funny? When I was watching that show when I was a kid, yeah, you know what? I always wanted to hang out with that kid. But then again, I would probably be that guy who knocked out the kid to take half of his stuff because it's not fair.
Then you're gonna teach him about consequences, about life is not fair.
Oh, I would tease him on. Yeah, I would because it's not fair, man. You shouldn't have all this money. Daddy gets you everything. It is what it is. You know what I mean? But it's kind of funny though. When you look at the lifestyle that kid had into what I had or what you had, you know what? I wouldn't trade it in for the world.
No, same here. Another show though that I've always watched though too was like Perfect Strangers. I grew up with Balky. And Belky was hands down one of my favorite characters as
Aki
well.
Bartakamis from
Yeah.
Meepos. Meepos.
Yep.
Loved
Meeples.
it. I loved that show growing up. One of my favorite episodes is when he was Fresh Balky B.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That was one of my favorite episodes ever to this whole time. You know what I mean? I loved it when he first came to America to find his cousin Larry. As
Cousin
he was
Larry.
cousin Larry. I always loved that. His voice was perfect.
It
Bronson
was.
Bronson Pinchot was so good. It wasn't even funny how good he was in that show.
Especially in Beverly Hills Cop. Like
Oh,
how he transforms over into Beverly Hills Cop. And
Surge.
Surge was actually my favorite character on Beverly Hills Cop. I would just watch Beverly Hills Cop just to
Just
see if there's any cameos in there with him in it.
I,
That's
you know
how
what? I wonder if he's going to be in the fourth one. That would be great.
that would, for nostalgia
That
purposes, he has to be in there.
I mean, they're bringing back almost the whole original cast. Taggart's coming back.
Right.
Foley, Rosewood. I gotta hope they bring Surge. Don't say Surge. Sounds like a laundry detergent. I always loved that about him because he was
Me
just
too.
hilarious. That's one thing I always loved because he was just a great, fun-loving character. But another show that I loved, you probably would have seen is Airwolf.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh wow, okay. So one of my favorite, besides Airwolf, is just a cool, badass show with a helicopter. Okay, you get this big helicopter, black and white, and it shoots things down like you wouldn't believe. It's like a secret government helicopter that an F-14 can't even touch. You know what I mean? It's just that super fast. It's like Kit on steroids that could fly.
I wish I seen that show, to be honest with you.
If
That's
you
one of the
have
ones.
if you have Tubi TV, it's on there
Yeah.
actually.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll give that a
give it
go.
a shot. It's some people. It's not everyone's cup of tea. Again, another show I watched too that I love to this day. Granted, now in America, the 2021s, 23s that we're in, of course, they don't want to see that flag anymore. But Dukes of Hazzard, Bo and Luke Duke, Daisy, Uncle Jesse, Roscoe, Boss Hogg, Cooter. These are guys I grew up with. You know what I mean? To me, they're
Right.
legendary. They're the General Lee with the Confederate flag, and I'm going to say that. You know what I
Right.
mean? It was iconic.
Right. And I think that there's a difference between separating yourself from reality and watching a TV show.
And I agree with you.
Because that's what we were taught as kids. This is all fake. This is pretend. These people are not exactly who they are, even on the TV screen.
Exactly. And
these are characters.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, if you remember watching the Dukes of Hazzard,
yeah,
and they're driving,
I watch reruns and stuff. Yeah.
And you know what's even better is like you watch the General Lee and you see the background of the car. You see the real car, then you see the background, how fake it is. You know what I mean? It's like a really bad simulation movie.
It does. It really does. Because the car's not even moving.
No,
all you
it's
see,
just bouncing.
And if you look closely, though, you can actually tell that the car may be on a treadmill.
Yeah.
And you can see the images being repetitive because it's the same background.
So great, though. It worked.
Right.
It just worked, but it was such a great show. I love the car. I just like it was about the car though, but it was such a great iconic show in the 80s that it's so nostalgic to me. So whenever I get the chance to see it on whenever it's on Amazon or on Hulu, whenever it's on streaming, dude, I'm glued to the TV and just saying, wow, I love that episode. Wow, that episode was great. It's just there's so many iconic shows in the 80s. This is why I love the fact that we're going to do this because there is a ton of cartoons and 80s shows. Like we're just scratching a little surface right now.
Right, exactly. Like for me, okay, if I'm going to be honest with you, as far as other stuff, I love the Wonder Years.
Great show.
Wonder Years is hands down one of my favorite shows. I even went my wife and I just last year watched the whole entire Wonder Years thing on Hulu.
Did you guys watch the new one at all, or did you guys just watch the old one?
Just the old one.
Okay, I was kind of curious.
For me, the old one was always going to hold my nostalgia, and I get the fact that you can do a new show with any color, any race, any kind of plot line because anybody can be Kevin.
Yeah,
you can have any other character named a certain way and everything, it can be represented in that kind of way. So I'm fine with the way that they've done the way they did the show. I just need to watch the show, but I'm fine
Yeah.
with them picking on doing something different.
Yeah, I haven't checked out the new show, but whenever I get a chance to see the old show, I like watching that. You watching Kevin Kiss Winnie for the first
Hmm.
time. You grow up with these characters. I mean, it's just like the 90s version of Boy Meets World.
Exactly, and that's also one of my other favorite shows from the '90s too. I know that we're
We're not in the
as
90s
well,
yet, but
but
that's a whole
yeah,
nother, but that just shows you
that's
the generation from the 80s to the 90s, how that went. And
right.
that's what I love about it, because it talks about, granted, the Wonder Years were set more in the 60s and stuff like that. And we're watching it in the 80s. But to be honest with you, when you look at the timeline of that show to when we were watching in the 80s, it really coinhersed during our time, teaching us about bullying, about asking the first
Peer
girl out,
pressure.
peer pressure. There's a lot of things that, as children, we don't realize. We take a lot of things for granted as kids, but now as we're parents like you and me, it shows like all these things that, like, damn, Kevin gave us some great advice, and we really need to take that up and go, thank you, Kevin,
Right.
and the family, because that's huge, because you don't realize this stuff. And that's what I loved about that show too. And another show, something comparable, was Different Strokes.
Different Strokes was actually a great show for its time, to be honest with you. I
Yep.
really enjoyed that show for what it is. I thought that was good. A Different World is also another one I watched.
Different World's another great show, but definitely a
Yeah.
Different Strokes with Arnold Jackson. I always love that name, Arnold Jackson. He and Mr. Drummond. What are you talking about? He always goes, "What are you talking about, Mr. D?" And that was his famous quote line. But that's another show that really showed a lot more than you bargained for, especially in when he started, or when his not his biological father, his stepdad, but even though his adopted dad, Mr. Drummond, started dating the girl that had the young redheaded son Sam, and
Right.
that showed an episode of his son being kidnapped. His, eh,
Right. And that was some deep thinking, especially for it be a sitcom about what do I do in this kind of situation. And
it's
right,
not
it's
easy.
very relatable. No.
It is very relatable, and you know what? I don't think, as a parent now, as I'm sitting here talking to you, and this show is fun loving, like I said, but we always have a serious note. I don't know how I would react if something ever happened to any of my kids or my wife. I don't know what I would do. I would be very rash, and I'm not going to be me, but I'll tell you, whoever took them, they better prepare, because I will hunt you and hurt you.
I'll be like Frank Castle from The Punisher. I'll be
I'll be
straight up
worse.
with you.
I'll be worse than Frank Castle. Put Frank Castle and RoboCop in one body, and there you go. That's
Right.
going to be me, because there's no way in hell you could shoot me 90 times and I'll still keep coming back after you. You know what I mean? And that's an important note. Just please, families, take care of your kids too. Take care of your loved ones. That's always important to me, and John too. So
Right.
as now we're gonna go back to fun loving. We went serious already. That was our serious PSA note for the day. Take care of the
Right.
family, guys. And that's the thing, 80s had so many great shows. Um, one of my favorites, and I mentioned the car, Kit, Knight Rider.
So that has some fun moments though for
Oh,
Knight Rider.
yeah.
And that the car was so iconic. I remember everybody wanting the car. Still, it
Still
was
do.
great.
I still want the damn car at
Mhm.
43, okay? I ain't gonna lie. If I could get a car like that, I mean, if you saw what I have here, well, yeah, I got like two Knight Rider cars up here. I got the Hot Wheel one, and I got the Comic Con one. My
Oh,
wife,
nice.
yeah, my wife got me a a, a kit that talked. You hit the button, things
Oh,
like this is nostalgic to me. So for
right.
me, it's like, wow, yes, I love it. And to be honest with you, David Hasselhoff was such an influence in that time for me.
He was
you
such
know?
a babe magnet though, to the point where we wanted to be like David Hasselhoff.
Oh God, yeah. If I was able to pull it off, I could have that curly hair of his. Because man, see, people, Yes, I have a shaved head. But if you saw me when I was a kid, holy Christ, you thought I had Don King's hairstyle with curls. That's the
Oh
best
my
way.
God.
Yeah, oh man, I had the biggest. I had such curly hair, and I'm having trouble with my headset, but that's okay.
But I don't have curly hair. I can't grow curly hair. So, but I wanted to be like him to the point where I was like, you know what? I want to be this guy. I want to be the guy who gets the girl at the end of every show. I want to be this person driving this car because I want to be that kind of person. I want to be Mr. Popular in a sense, I guess.
Yes,
But yeah,
yes. I would say I would love to be Mr. Popular. I always wanted the car.
yeah.
Um,
And I figured get the car, you get the girl, you get everything.
I
So
love the high speed chases. It's like it was like James Bond but better. He
it was
always,
more James Bond is great,
yeah,
but he's not as relatable and not as geeked out about tech as far as Kit goes.
oh yeah,
Kit had a function for everything in the car that you can think of.
yeah.
You
He
know,
had an analyzer. He was a smart ass, which I loved. You know what
he
I mean?
also had condoms on hand for Kit. No, never mind.
Yeah,
Wrong thing.
wrong show.
Right.
But that's the thing. But and
Right.
that's the thing. I have, which is kind of funny. I was surprised it did not last more than 4 seasons. That was the kick. It lasted only 4 seasons, and there was a revival in the '90s, which was Team Knight Rider,
Hmm.
which was the worst thing I've ever seen. And then they did the movie Knight Rider 2000 as Kit as a red car. Which, listen, I get it. They're just trying to keep the nostalgia. But I'll be honest with you. In 2005, I think it was, they rebooted Knight Rider into a Mustang.
I
First of
remember
all,
that.
I thought it was a great idea. Okay, I thought it was a great idea. Blacked out Knight Rider. Now, when they did the movie one, just like they did for the Night of the Phoenix, I thought it was great because then you met Grayman, who was the inventor of Kit, and then you see the body of Kit. You know what I mean? Then you see the
Right.
old body. Then, of course, you didn't realize it was going to be a Mustang at all. Even better, a Shelby GT 500
Which is my dream
KR
car.
KR 5000, which is for the Knight Rider 5000 technically, or 3000. So Kit gets a makeover. Kit's no longer known as the Knight Industries 2000 because that was his name, the old name. Now it's a Knight Industries 3000, which I respect. But when they did the show from the movie plot, I did not like the fact that they tried to make him into too many things.
They were trying to make it into basically into splitting him up into what he actually is.
Yeah, I
Putting all
mean,
this other stuff into it when it's not rocket science.
I like the
Don't have to have a
nanotechnology. I loved
right.
Nano. I thought that was great. In season 4, he had the super pursuit mode. So I understand why they went with the hopped up engine, the mag wheels in the back, but I think it was a little too much.
Yeah.
I like the turbo boost because it had the Knight Rider under the bottom. I thought that was cool. It was something different. I love the fact that Val Kilmer was the voice of Kid too, besides William Daniels, which I love.
Right. Because think of it like this though. Val being the voice of him is perfect because of the fact that you had him as Iceman in the 80s. So it's a
Yeah,
perfect callback.
yeah, exactly. And that's one thing I loved. And hey, listen, I get it. It's nanotechnology. I understand he could transform into a pickup truck, that's cool and all that stuff. But the interactive of what he is, I thought it was a little different. I didn't like the TV show versus the plot movie that they first came out with. I thought that
Right.
was a little bit better. That you could drive and they made it into a stick shift. I loved that look. I thought that's where it was going. I think that show would have been successful if they didn't change a thing. And I
Right.
keep hearing rumors that David Hasselhoff wants to do a movie, a Knight Rider movie, and him as Devin Miles now.
That'll be an interesting thing.
That would be kind of cool because then he could teach whoever's the new
Right. As a
Michael.
passing of the torch kind of situation,
Yeah,
which
like
I'm okay with.
that would be okay with because then you're trying to teach the new Michael Knight. You know what I mean? Do you call
Exactly.
him Michael Knight? No, I don't know what you call him.
No, you can have some stranger off the street,
Yeah,
basically,
but he's got
or
to carry that knight name though. That's the
right,
thing.
or a distant cousin or something around that
Yeah.
area, and then be able to train him in that kind of way and kind of fashion. And I think that you need to have, if you're going to reboot it and put him as the forefront,
Hmm.
you need to have someone that is dangerous.
Yes.
You need to have someone that can get the ladies. You can also need to get someone that's mysterious. You need someone that gets in trouble with the law, and then he gets over into David Hasselhoff's circle, and then that's when he winds up teaching him what he knows.
You know who I think would be a great, perfect actor for this?
Who's that?
You're gonna laugh when I tell you this. Chris Pratt.
You know what? I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with him being Michael Knight, the new Michael Knight. I
I
think
can
he
see
would.
that.
I could see him with that jacket. Well, I mean, an updated version jacket. Let's
Right.
80s are dead, but I could see him being that role, that pain in the butt, like David Hasselhoff was to Devin Miles in that show. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
taking him for granted and busting him on a little bit, but a little bit now that TV has changed dramatically from 1984 to 2023, that you could actually say somewhat bad words like shit, or
Right.
you just can't drop the F bomb. It feels like, you know what I mean? I'm hearing on TBS asshole. I'm like, what the hell, you know? But
Right. Because back then it would be bleeped out.
it would
Now
be bleep
it's
out, and now it seems to be fine. Go figure that in the world. But iconic car, iconic show. I wish they did more for that show. I wish they had more. See, me personally, I would love to have another video game out of Knight Rider.
that'd
You
be
know,
cool. That would be cool.
I mean, I love the
Um,
NES version and the PS2 version, which I had it imported from China and played it and loved it until, of course, I broke the disc because I was so pissed off. Um, I will not lie, I broke the disc. But I would love to see that. I would like to see the 1980s Knight Rider and a PlayStation 5 Xbox type of video game.
that'd be cool. Or a GTA version of Knight Rider or something.
Ooh, I can't, guys, me and my GTA, and I'm hearing rumors and leaks of GTA 6, and boy, am I getting excited.
I am too. You and I are both on the GTA train, to be honest with you,
We're gonna have to
because
do a GTA show just alone,
that would be
because
awesome. I'll be game for that.
I am so game for that already. It's not even funny because
Um,
it's so nostalgic, that video game too.
but what I wanted to mention was this. Okay, so there's a movie called Kicking It Old School with
Oh
Jamie
yeah,
Kennedy,
yes.
and they had Knight Rider in there. They had Kit in the movie. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So
And
I was like, even though that movie's bad, but every single time it's on TV, I just have to watch it because of Kit being in
uh,
the movie.
you know what's funny? As much as that movie was horrible, but Benchwarmers
Yeah,
had the Knight Rider card, but in Super Pursuit mode.
I
And
remember that.
that was another horrible movie. It was funny, but it was horrible. It was one of those things. Like, it's
I bought
just
that movie for me, right? I bought that on DVD. My mama's friend's kid is obsessed with baseball, still is, and he was little at the time. That's all he would watch was Benchwarmers. He wore on my DVD.
oh my god, that's rough.
I'm like,
Oh,
well, I was like, well, at least he enjoyed it. That's cool.
what's funny? You're gonna laugh when I tell you this. Baywatch was an '80s TV show first
Yeah,
in
yeah, it was 80s.
1989.
Yep.
89. The original series one, with not with Brandon Call, but with was it no Brandon Call was the kid, whoever replaced him for the second season, the new Hobie, as I call him. I forgot who
That's,
that was. I forgot the name of the character, but I
that
was
was not
thinking,
Momoa.
was it? I don't remember now. Now I gotta look it up. I have to definitely look this up. So Baywatch cast. There we go. Yes, folks, I have two laptops, and no, not Jason Momoa. No, 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 no,
Oh,
no.
okay,
He was not Hobie.
okay,
Jeremy Jackson. He was
okay,
the original. He replaced Brandon Call. Brandon Call was actually in Step by Step with Patrick Duffy and Suzanne Summers.
okay.
So he was the original Hobie in season one in 1989. I think is when that. Yeah, the show came out, and it's kind of funny. I laughed a little bit. I'm like, wow, I thought the show came out in 90. It was 89. So it's in the 80s, folks. It's in our realm here. But when you first watch the first season of Baywatch, you're like, wow, it's David Hasselhoff in a swimsuit, which I didn't like. I like the other stuff that showed in that TV show. Oh, the wonderful lifeguards. But of course, when you're 13, you're like, wow, you know what I mean? 13,
Right,
14 years old.
because we want to be lifeguards now. All of a sudden, we're like, you know what? I think I want to be a lifeguard. Then you get into the reality of it, and you look at the people that are lifeguards. Are like, yeah, this is not what it was like on TV. They don't look as hot as.
Well, actually, in LA County, they do. I mean, I've been to LA a few times, and when I went to the beach, it's actually you're like
not in Boston. In Boston, it might be you don't get
nah. You get duck rides and under Bill Buckner Bridge.
Yep, that's all you get. You get duck rides, and occasionally you wind up getting a swan boat.
Yeah,
as
or
well.
the swan boat. Yes, that's right. I listen. Boston to me is the most. As much as they hate the Yankees, I understand anything with New York. I get it. But let me tell you something. Boston to me is like the greatest town ever.
That's actually where
Besides,
I'm originally from. So
I'm a diehard New York City guy. Even though I live in New Jersey, I love New York City. But I'll tell you, if the second best town happened in town, always to me would always be Boston, man. I've been to LA, I've been to Miami, but there's an energy that's so Boston. When you go to town Boston, yeah, you go see the Green Monster. You get to see Boston. You know what I mean? You
right.
go to Cheers. You go downtown to Cheers. Something about Boston is like home to New York for me. I don't know what it is, but my comfortability.
Very atmospheric. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah,
and especially how passionate we are about baseball.
yes.
The point
That I will wear my Yankees and I'll get booed, but you know what? I say, listen, I buy you around if I lose, but at least I'm a diehard Yankee fan. I respect the Bostonites.
Okay, let me tell you this story. Okay, so I'm in Kelly's Pub.
Okay,
which is bar and grill, a couple blocks from my grandmother's house in East Boston.
Okay.
And there's this old man there. He has a New York Yankees hat on.
Okay.
And he's watching this Boston versus Yankees.
Ew.
And at that time, we were winning up until he came into the bar. And then the bartender said this one. He goes, "What the hell are you doing? What are you doing?" He goes, "Get the hell out." He goes, "What are you talking about? Because of you, this person winded up doing one home run and 3 people ran home as soon as you came in."
Sorry, dude.
And he's a regular there too, but he's busting his balls. So he goes, "You're gonna eat the fuck outside. You're gonna go outside."
Oh.
He goes, "What? You can't do that." He goes, "I'm the owner. Hey,
I can do whatever I want.
Table, outside. Yeah, one. Yeah. If you can, get him to take off that damn Yankees hat because we were winning and now we're losing." But
see, that's wrong. That's wrong. You know what? Listen, I remember when the Yankees first won the World Series in '96. I went up to Boston with a bunch of friends. Of course, I'm wearing my Yankee cap. Of course, because there's nothing better than rubbing in a Boston Bruin. Well, even a Bruin, I still wore my Rangers shirt too. But one thing is, I will say, if you're respectful to anybody wearing a Red Sox hat and you're wearing a Yankees hat and you're showing them respect, they leave you alone.
Yeah.
The fact that, hey, I'm cheering for my team, but I'm not one of those drunken, belligerent buttheads who take it too far.
Right.
Listen, I remember going to Yankee Stadium. It was Boston Yankees. I got tickets by dumb luck. I took a friend of mine who's a Boston Red Sox fan. He wore his Boston Red Sox stuff. I wore my Yankee stuff. Okay. It's fine. But the fact that we were sitting by right field at Yankee Stadium and the guy started being like, listen, guys, let's show a little respect. Okay. Yes, he's wearing a Red Sox shirt, but he ain't hounding us because we're losing 5-0 already to him.
Right.
He's not, he ain't parading it. So let's leave him alone. And then, of course, we came back. We win the game 6-5. But,
just leave the guy alone. Let him enjoy what he wants to enjoy.
But the fun is, everyone who was sitting in that section left it alone.
Right. But no, the guy at the bar though, he was just busting his balls because he was a regular.
Poor
So,
guy.
and then the guy's like, "Kiss my old ass." He goes, "It'll take me all day long to I kiss your crusty ass." He goes, so it was like
Nice.
it was like back and forth between them. It was hilarious. It was a great way of. I'm like, okay, I love this. I want to come back here again. But that's actually then after that, I wound up coming over there like almost every single day, eating steak tips and stuff like that. So
So
yeah,
you can't go wrong with that.
no,
So
but
oh
okay.
yeah, go ahead. No, you go first, John, please.
So back over to the '80s stuff.
Yes, yeah, I was just about to say. We don't worry, we lose track on the show quickly. That's what makes
Okay,
the show so awesome.
but okay, so my brother introduced me to Saved by the Bell,
Classic show. Classic.
and I'm gonna say this: I was a Screech. I was the
Okay.
one who was. I was always the one that wanted the girl that I couldn't have in high school. So yeah.
Well, when you say Saved by the Bell, I was kind of a Zach Morris, scammer, Screech, the girl I couldn't have, and a Mario Lopez in the older years, the jock.
Right.
So I was like, again, the curly
Mixture of
hair,
everything.
a mixture of everything because I hung out with the jocks, I was a scammer, and on top, well, not a scammer, but I knew how to.
A hustle. You hustle.
I was a hustler. That's a better word. I was a hustler. I was an entrepreneur too. But
That's how I was in high school, though. If you think about it, now that I'm thinking of it, because
oh,
we used
dude,
to.
I look like I was 30 as a senior in high school. I was 19. I looked over 21. So I was able to collect money from people and go get alcohol,
Oh, cool.
not getting carded.
See, me, I couldn't do that. I looked like I was 16, but I was 18 at
I
the
was
time.
able to go anywhere, any bar if I wanted to. Didn't get carded. Go to the liquor store and get drinks. Didn't get carded. But it's how you present yourself too. Don't act stupid. Don't be stupid, and you'll be fine.
And
There
have
was
the
a
confidence and stuff like that too. If because you don't like, oh my god, I just got
oh, dude,
carded. You gotta have that game face to be
the
able.
scariest time. I'll even to say that before we go into another '80s show. I'll tell you this: I was 19. I was a senior year. I went to Hoboken to go get alcohol because there was one place that would give me like if I bought a certain amount, they'd give me a discount or something for free. You know what I mean? Ended up there. The cops were inside, and I'm like, oh fuck. Ended up spending like $380 worth of alcohol. Cops like, got a party going on? I go, yeah, I got I'm a partier, but I'm actually the key master. So I was like, what's the key master? I go, guy who collects all the keys for the drunken drivers. So no one drives home drunk, sir. So, oh, so you're in college? I go, yes, sir. I'm 21. Born in 1977. Going to myself, you fucking lying sack of shit. And even what makes it even worse is that I'm a high school kid with a really good fake ID. Cops help me bring the alcohol to the car. You want to even make it, you want to laugh? You're going to laugh now. You're going to drop that laughing. You know what was in my trunk? My football bag.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. My high school football bag filled with my pads and everything. So I'm going like this. Oh, thank you, officer. I got it. So they don't see it. Putting right on top of it. I tell you this, the scariest thing I've ever did was put the park car in drive and get the hell out of Hoboken.
I don't
And
blame you.
and then they were following. Okay, so I knew something was up. I'm like, this was too easy, I said. As they're following me, I just went nice and easy, drove the speed limit, wasn't honking the horn. But let me tell you, as soon as I got on Route 3, they couldn't follow me past the bridge going
Jurisdiction.
to Weehawken, and that's where I booked it.
I don't blame you. I would
I'm
have
like,
done the same thing.
I'm getting the hell out of here, and I'm crossing the river to Secaucus, and I'm going right into East Rutherford, and I'm going to hide in the marshes for a little bit. Take
But
all the
you can't
back
say
roads.
you could have just said, "Oh, that's my little brother's football gear."
Oh God, I just was not
But
loving
yeah,
it.
I understand. But when you're in that situation, you're not thinking. Your mind goes blank, like, "Oh my god,
Oh
I got
God,
busted."
yeah. So now we're gonna go back to '80s card shows, okay?
Well,
Oh man,
well,
that's
okay. You're talking about hustling though, too, like Zach and everything. We had like a little side hustle going on though too in high school. Like when my friends and I would go ahead, we would uh spin a dreidel like
Oh,
gamble.
yep.
So we would spin the dreidel. T1 means take one. T2 means take two. TA means take all. So we're gambling. I had like $1 in there. I came out with like $25 one time, and then but this time we all got busted.
Oh no.
And I had $1, but I walked away as soon as I saw the gym teacher coming back,
Oh my
and
God.
he's like, "What's going on over here? Uh, we're playing spin the top. How do you? That's cool. How do you play?
You don't
What? Why
want to
is this?"
know.
He goes, "What's all this money going on over here?
Oh, we're just leaving it there.
The donations."
Donations. That's
And
great.
so, he's like, "Well, I'm gonna take your donation money, which is your lunch money that your parents gave you,
Oh
and
God.
I'll give it back to you at the end of the PE because I don't want you guys to go hungry.
Oh Jesus.
Because somebody might take your donation money." So,
Oh, I would have been
but
pissed.
but the cool thing about me though was I got free reduced lunch, so it didn't matter to me
So
if
it
I was
didn't
losing.
matter. Nice, nice, nice. I love it.
So it was like, how the hell? Why don't you care about your lunch money? I said, I got free reduced lunch.
You can't go wrong with that. You can't
No,
go wrong with that.
because how do you have free reduced lunch when you bring your lunch?
He
I
goes,
said,
that's why.
that's why. But I also, if I ever want to eat in the cafeteria, I have free reduced lunch in case of anything.
That's
But
funny. Free reduced lunch. I love that one. I gotta use that the next time.
and then this was another thing that we used to do. We used to trade CDs back and forth to each
Oh
other.
yeah.
We used to buy. Basically, we would buy parental advisory stickers. We would always get someone that's older than us get parental advisory stickers because we were too young to actually buy parental advisories,
Yeah, I remember those
CDs and
days.
stuff. But yeah, it was just all fun.
Oh my God, that's great. That's I love hustles like that, man. But
But yeah, we had yeah.
oh no, no, go ahead, go ahead. Finish up, finish up. I'm sorry.
But yeah, we used to. This is like in the early dawn of making CDs, right? So
Yeah,
we would actually mix CDs and sell them for like $5 a pop over at the school.
nothing wrong with that. I would have done the same thing.
And I walked away with $35 in the schoolyard. And then my friend Rodney was like, "How much did you make?" I said, "How much do you make?" Because if you're taking my clientele, I need answers.
Well, it's
So,
simple. If I take your clientele, don't worry about it. They like my CDs better than yours.
right.
There's a
But
reason
it
why
was
your
just
clientele doesn't like you anymore.
right. But yeah, that's how we actually made side money and everything. And our parents would be wondering where all this extra money's coming from.
Oh my God, it was funny because before we get back to the 80s, man, I worked in a restaurant with my dad and I had to buy a car. I needed to buy a car. So my dad, I would work as a food runner and busboy for my dad at the restaurant. So my dad would pay me. I would get paid on the table, and then the owner of the restaurant would pay me on the side. So I was making some money. And I was just like, wow, I like this. Never told my dad. So when they told me we're gonna go buy your first car, we'll match whatever you had. I had about $7,500 I saved.
That's crazy.
And then I said, all right, mom. So like, how much did you save? I go, $7,500 cash right here. She goes, what? You said whatever I had saved in over a year and a half, you'll match it. Well, I worked 2 nights a week, made $600 almost a night, $1,200 in 2 days. You do the math.
At that time, we came out like Al Pacino and Scarface. Your boy's a success, mom.
Yeah,
Your boy's a success.
yeah, your boy was a success, but it did it very legally, not illegally, very legal.
Literally.
I worked hard for that money, man. But yeah, it's the greatest thing when you can accomplish something like that. But we accomplished a lot in the 80s too, especially good TV shows and good cartoons. Now, you mentioned a couple of good cartoons. One of them being the real Ghostbusters, which I loved.
Me too.
I loved that. And sorry, guys, if I'm going crazy, and this will air in a couple of weeks, Rangers just scored 1-0 over the Devils, game 3. Sorry, folks. Going crazy here because Chris Kreider just scored. Loved it. So I apologize. But another great cartoon, The Real Ghostbusters, was great. Don't get me wrong. I love that show. And it was kind of funny. I never realized that Winston Zedmore was Arsenio Hall.
I never knew that either until today.
Yes.
So I'm 2 years old when I just found that out.
Yes. So it's kind of funny. Like, I didn't know that either. And the fact that it has 7 seasons, that shows you how good that show was.
Right.
And I love that show. It was so much fun. See, it says Buster Jones, but I thought it was it says Buster Jones was Zedmore, but I heard it was Arsenio Hall. Dave
Like,
Coulier was Peter Venkman. Hmm, strange. Yeah, no. Wentz is Zedmore. Okay, so I guess Buster Jones was at one point, and then it went to Arsenio Hall. I was right. Okay, see,
because
I
they
was
change
right.
out actors sometimes, or
Yeah,
voice
yeah.
actors.
So I was right. Damn you, Wikipedia.
But
And
no, man, waking up and being able to watch Ghostbusters was actually a treat because I was always wanting the Ghostbusters hearse and have the little Gatling gun, the traps, which I had all that Ghostbuster stuff, action figures and stuff. I had
so did
all
I.
that.
So did I. But one of my favorites was the Proton Pack.
Oh yeah, I got that too.
I had the Proton. I'll never forget it. I had the Proton Pack, the meter. What the hell is it called? One.
Oh, I know E2 meter or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And the trap. And every time, growing up with no brothers or sisters, you learn how to do things on your own. And the
Exactly.
fact that I used to have it, I used to play Ghostbusters by myself.
Me too.
And the funny thing is I laugh because I remember in the movie watching the first movie is like it's great working with Venkman. You too, sir. You know what I mean? And they're crossing the streams to beat Zool. So for me, it's one of those things. But I don't know about you, but one of my favorite cartoons to this day, and if I watched it, I'll be watching everything, was Teenage Mutant Ninja
Yep.
Turtles. Heroes in a Half Shell. I fell in love with the Turtles, first of all.
Same.
Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, and Raphael. I'm going to tell you something. This is the only reason I took up karate because I wanted to be a turtle so bad.
You know what's bad is I took up karate for the opposite. I actually took up karate because of the Karate Kid. So,
Okay, well, I did that too. Don't get me wrong. I did it for both
right,
reasons.
and because of this though too,
Yeah,
because I wanted to be fighting like Donatello or and stuff like that too.
I I ended up getting good enough to actually not master, but good enough to actually use the nunchucks because I was a party dude like Michelangelo. He was my favorite, but I was a cross between like Michelangelo and Raphael because of my attitude. So I was that party dude, but I had an attitude to go with it. But I didn't like the size very much, even though I did practice the size. I did use katana blades and I did also do the bow. But my favorite was always the nunchucks. So for me, Michelangelo always resides with me. I'm always a big fan of Michelangelo. Just the way he talks. Also, I love pizza. That's how I started
Same.
eating pizza because of that damn shell. But
Every
I
single
was
time, I'll be straight up with you. Every single time when I saw a damn pizza, I'm like, Mom, yeah, can we go to Pizza Hut? Every single time, it never failed. I wanted pizza. I
yeah.
wanted extra cheese pizza, just gripping, just like how they did on the cartoon.
And I was so thankful in 1990 when they came out with the movie.
I was too. I was geeked out in the theater as a
I was
kid.
so geeked out, and I saw two. I was still geeked out because it was the Secret of the Use. The third one I could have lived without. Third one just sucked. But even the newer ones that came out, I was so looking forward to because again, the nostalgia. And I do love the new ones, but for me, the 80s and the 90s Turtles was the way to go for me. And
Same.
I'll tell you, if I was able to turn back time from Cher from the 80s and those wonderful, wonderful dress that she wore that night. I definitely would love to watch those again. And the funny thing is, like, in the cartoon they put like pepperoni with ice cream and sprinkles and all that.
They experimented. They were like
Hey,
CC's Pizza before CC's Pizza was
pizza
even a thing.
exactly. So I always said like, cool, that's not me. The extra cheese and pepperoni, that's me. That's more my style. But
Same.
you know, the nostalgia of that cartoon is one of my favorites. Another great cartoon that we didn't touch on was Voltron.
Ultron is okay. I watched the new Voltron on Netflix, and
So did I.
but I also watched the old one back when I was a kid, though.
Yes, I watched the old Voltron because first of all, Voltron Force. By the way, I do have the Legos Voltron done. One of my favorite things, one of my prized possessions, because that shows you how much of an 80s kid I was. I have the Voltron Lego all built, and it's one of my favorite pieces. You know what I mean? It's up there by my window, and it has the I built the sword, the shield, the head of the lion,
Oh,
everything. I'll even show it to you when we're done with the show.
okay.
I'll bring the laptop over there because it's so perfectly placed where it is. I don't want to ever touch it.
I gotta see that thing.
Yeah, I'll show it to you when we're done tonight. But Voltron was such a great show, and I love the new version. But there was something about the old one that the new one did not have.
I just, to be honest with you, the old one, I love the drawing style of the old one.
Mhm.
And also, too, it had that 80s kind of flair to it where,
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? Like that little bit of cheese that you need
yeah,
that represents the 80s.
yep.
To
And that
me, yeah, that's what I felt like was missing with this new one. Yeah, they tried it, but for
just didn't
me,
work.
no, the imagery of the drawing of the artwork and everything for the 80s was very one dimensional.
And that's what I liked about it. It was one dimensional. I hate to say that word, but it worked.
It was simplistic. It was
It-
actually something that was perfect
yeah.
for our time and great storytelling. You don't need to have all this other stuff to tell a story.
No, no, definitely not. I mean, there were so many great cartoons though of the 80s. We
But
touched on He-Man
right,
that we
but
loved.
I want to touch back on Ghostbusters for a minute
Oh yeah, go ahead. I'm
with the
sorry.
proton, pack, and
Yeah.
here's the thing. Yeah, I have a brother, but he lived up in Boston, and I lived
Okay.
down in Mississippi with my aunt.
Okay.
And so, anyways, I was a lonely child. So I also had to go ahead and use my imagination.
Yeah,
So
so
what
did
I would
I.
do is, so what I did was I would throw the trap. I was like, hey mom, what? There's a ghost. What? Next thing you know it, there's a trap that's right by her foot. And I threw it at her. She goes, why the fuck are you throwing your toys at me? I said, I'm not. I'm playing.
I'm trying to get the ghost. Mom, you're in the
So
way.
so I have an angry person from New York City yelling at me because there's a trap by her.
Oh my God, that's so
So,
awesome.
so she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Stay still." And I had then after that, I let the trap go, and I'm like, "Okay, you're safe now." You there.
But that's
I was like,
awesome. The fact that you had an awesome imagination like I did, it just shows where we came from. And you know what? I'm so blessed that my daughter has that same thing like I did. And I love that because I go, "What are you doing?" She goes, "Oh, I'm playing with this." Like she's now getting into a little bit of like the Harry Potter. So, I got her a Hermione wand and she's like full blown magician Hermione wand thing. You know what I mean? So she thinks she could do tricks. The fact that she loves it makes me happy.
it's awesome.
So,
That's really awesome to actually have a
so
kid that loves that kind of stuff.
yeah, and don't get me wrong, she does get scared of the movies a little bit here and there from time. You know what I mean? It's not made for the faint of heart. She's very young. She's only 6, but the fact that she could sit there, she's watched the. We haven't been watching The Mandalorian. We kind of fell off a little bit. We haven't watched some of the shows, but she
Um,
loves The Mandalorian a lot. She loves Baby Yoda, or as we know him, Guru, but she don't like that name, so she keeps calling him Baby Yoda.
you know what's funny though? Tamika calls baby Grogu
Yeah,
Yo-Yo, baby Yo-Yo.
Baby Yo-Yo. I love it. But the funny thing is it's one of those nostalgic thing for the kids. You know what I mean?
Right. But I
It's
like
that.
the fact that we had Star Wars,
Yeah.
but now they have a thing that represents something for them to enjoy.
Yes.
And it's
I
very transferable to where
and
they can actually.
that's even she watched the old Star Wars with me. She watched Return of the Jedi with me, and she goes, "Dad, I got so many questions." I go, "I know. We have to watch all the movies." She watched Phantom Menace with me. She watched the Attack of the Clones. We didn't go any further than that because that's where it kind of got a little more scarier for her. So I said we'll stop. So for me, again, the 80s and 70s, the Star Wars I am such a Star Wars geek. I couldn't get into Star Trek at
Me
all.
either.
So for me is like, if we ever get a chance to go to Disney, I am so taking her right to go get a lightsaber with her, get it made.
That'd be cool.
I don't care how much it costs me. But I even said my wife and my son, he's only 2, but I'm gonna wait till he gets a little older. Because I want him to enjoy the experience with us too. It's like I could care less how much it costs at that point. It could cost $30 by that time. But to own your own lightsaber, bring it from Florida,
Right.
from Disney, it's that nostalgia.
Exactly. And that's something that I think that is actually perfect because my friend Michael did the same thing with his daughter. He got her a lightsaber from Disney World.
Nice.
and they had that special father daughter bonding moment. So he was like all geeked out, and here he comes with like a set saber. I'm like,
Uh,
what are you doing?
well, I'll
You're
be
gonna
honest with
took
you, I
it
definitely, if we ever
like
go, I want to take her to Harry Potter too, because she loves Harry
right.
Potter, like I do. So to go Universal and Disney, I definitely, that's something I can't wait to do with her.
That's on my to-do list, to be honest with
Same
you.
thing with me. It's on my to-do list. The last time I was in Disney was right before, actually, I think it was right after no, it's after my dad passed, or I think it was after my dad passed away. I went to Disney. My mom said, "Go, enjoy yourself. Go to Florida with your friends." I'm like, "Okay." My friends were already down there because they had a wedding to go to, and they're like, "We're gonna stay for the week. We're gonna go to Disney, Uner, SeaWorld." I'm like, "Oh, let's just do it." I'm like, "Let's go. I'll chip in for the hotel room and all that stuff." And I did, and they picked me up from the airport. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of fun. I don't remember much because I remember drinking around Epcot Center around the world, and by the time I got to America, I wasn't feeling any more Budweisers.
This sounds like your typical everyday Tuesday, just about when you're not going
Oh
around the world.
man, we did that, and then I remember going to Pleasure Island at night, and they had the dueling pianos, which was really cool, and I enjoyed every minute of it because they were playing like Eminem at that time.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was great. I threw a
Um,
20. And I said, "Hey,
now
can we guys sing Freebird?" And they did it doing a piano. It's great.
now the last time I've been to Universal was whenever the Jaws ride was still there, and Back to the Future was still there.
I never
Uh,
went to Universal in Florida.
Haven't I've been to the
No,
one in Florida.
I've
Florida.
been to the one in California.
Okay.
So when I went out to Cali, Hit was still out there, in his little island in a water, him standing there. And I'm just like, wow. And let me tell you, I, they let you open the door, you get in, you get to sit there for like 3 minutes, you get to talk to Kit. And it's William Daniels' voice that they use, which is awesome. But of course, there's someone in the background talking to you because they see you in the camera. But they used William Daniels' voice, and let me tell you, sitting in the car, I'm like, I see the keys. I'm like, oh, so that's where the keys went. And I'm with the shifter. You're hitting the buttons, and the buttons really work. And you hear, and I'm like, oh, I go, if I touch turbo boost, are you gonna jump? He goes, yes, don't touch that button. I'm like, okay, touch. Then nothing happened. But to sit in the car, yes, Jaws was just the biggest attraction at that point. In California, because I had family who was out in Cali. So my mom sent me out there with my grandmother for a week and a half, and we did the Disney, we did Universal, did Knott's Berry Farm. They took me everywhere, and it was such a great time with my family, and got to see the other side of family I never knew I had. And to this day, I still keep in touch with them. Thank God for Facebook
Right.
and podcasting, because they told me they love the show and what I do. So hearing that out is always cool. Um,
Definitely.
but one of another cartoon. Now, again, I watched a lot of cartoons growing up too, and shows. But one of the cartoons, it's kind of funny that I was watching, and it just hit me when I was looking at some of the nostalgic TV shows. But one of them that only lasted for one season was Cops.
Really? I didn't know that.
It only lasted a season, but it was so popular. I remember having the toys.
Yeah, I didn't even know that show. To be
It was
honest.
it was a great show. It was up there with the Police Academy that came out in the cartoons in the 80s.
Okay, I remember the Police Academy TV shows, but I don't remember that one.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
there was a show called Cops. I loved it to death. It's kind of funny. Perfect Strangers comes up. I was never a Charles in Charge kind of guy. Cheers,
Yeah.
Cheers. I was too young, so I couldn't really get the jokes. Growing Pains was another great show. I always liked Kirk Cameron, just because
Right.
him and his best friend Boner Stabone, and yeah, I know, right? Who named his son Boner Stabone? God, I wonder what his parents were thinking.
I
Now
don't
that
know.
I'm
It's like
now that you and I are sitting here, I'm thinking about this too. Who the hell names their kid Boners to Bone? Were they on crack?
Either that or they were like really high to the point it's like, you know what? We need to name her kid Boner.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then I could see the girl go, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Boner.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now that
Because
I'm
you
sitting here
really,
thinking,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
as
Because
we're
you
both
really
saying,
boned
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. She really did.
Right.
Let's
It's also
see.
Doogie Howser too.
Yeah, there's Doogie Howser. I love Doogie Howser, and it's on Disney Plus, by the way. And
What about Who's the Boss? Were you a big Who's the Boss
you know
fan or
what? I
no?
was just seeing that right now. I did watch. I didn't like it all the time. There were some shows that were cool. You know what I mean? I
It
remember
was hit and
watching.
miss.
It was a hit or miss show. It was some of it was so much fun, and some of it wasn't. And I don't know. One of my favorites was Full House growing up.
Oh yeah. I was
Full
a Full
House.
House person.
I loved Full House. You know, watching the first episode when everything happened, and then Uncle Jesse moves in. What was Dave Coulier's Uncle Joey moves in? You know,
Uncle Joey was my favorite though.
I
Joey,
always I always loved Jesse. I was always
see,
I was that rock and roll kind of, even though I didn't know what the hell rock and roll was. I just loved
I guess
his
I could say I
appearance.
was though too in a sense because my aunt was obsessed with Elvis,
Yeah,
still is, and I got a lot of the rock and roll stuff from her. And I wanted to make people laugh, and I also like comedians, and I also liked stuff like that. So yeah, Uncle Jesse and Joey were probably my favorites.
they were my. I like Danny though, just because he was Mr. Clean. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was that anal repentant nut house clean.
I
Um,
remember one episode where the girls winds up looking in his closet and just look, we got to be really careful because my dad knows if someone's been in his closet.
oh yeah, is that the one episode where DJ and Stephanie pull and then they broke the wall with the
Yeah.
rack? I remember that episode. That's so funny that you're saying that.
I
That's
remember that one. Another one was when they were faking that they were 16 years old and they took out
yes.
the car.
Oh yeah, and they took the car right into the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That was fun times. What else? That was a great show. Another one too, which is kind of funny, was Family Matters.
Yeah. Okay. I remember Family Matters like the back of my hand. I remember when Urkel was not even part of the show.
Yeah, he was not. Matter of fact, Family Matters technically was a spinoff of Perfect Strangers,
Yeah.
because Carl Winslow and Harriet Winslow were in with Perfect Stranger, working in the same place. He was still a Chicago cop, and she was working for this newspaper thing. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just one of those, again, great movie, great movie. Sorry, great
Great show.
show. Yeah, as I'm thinking something else right
Right.
there, because I was looking at something that upped in the '80s for me, and it was just, you know what? It was a different time and a different place, with race was a huge difference. And I'm so happy they did that, because it's a different atmosphere and people need to learn that. And we did.
Right.
And
We
that was,
learned it through Carl Winslow. We learned it through his lenses, which was actually a perfect way of actually going about it. It was ahead of its time. I mean, they talked about stuff that we never thought they would actually touch on. You
yeah,
know?
it's just, again, things you never knew with, well, I'll say racism and stuff like that. So it's a different type of thing. And it's just like, you got to be kidding me. You know what I mean? And then as you're getting older, you really notice those things in the world. But, not here nor there. I just hope for a better world and better life. You know what I mean? That's all
Right.
I care about.
That's all I want to be
Yeah,
honest
same
with
here.
you.
Just everyone be happy and be lucky that they're alive. That's the best way I could say that.
Exactly. There's so much brokenness in the world today to the point where that's all I want for people is just to be
Yes.
happy.
Same here. And and that's one thing I loved. And let's see. We talked about the Transformers a little bit.
What about Ralphie?
Which one was that?
Alf?
Oh, Alf, yes. Come on,
Yeah, Alfie. Yeah.
Alf was just, that's just a show that you love. You know what I mean? Hey, I'm an alien from Melmac, and I eat cats. Like, that's weird though.
It really is if you look at the surface of it and the tone that they were doing. And also too, I remember asking my dad at the time before he passed away when I was a kid. I was like, because there was a TV guide, a magazine
Yeah.
at that time. I'm like, when does Alf come on? And so I would always wind up making him look at the TV guide to find out when he was going to come on, because I was always into it. But if you look at the whole entire thing of where he comes from and he likes eating cats, it's
Yeah.
like, okay,
Like, what the hell? Yeah.
right, wait, my son likes this. He's like
Eh,
8 years old.
Yeah, I loved watching Alf. That was a great TV show. Again, that took on some different things too, actually, that show. Just not an alien outside, he was trying to be as normal as he can be, you know what I mean? And
Trying to fit into society and
yeah, it's almost like
trying to
short circuit.
right, exactly. But with someone that's eating cats versus someone that just wants input.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's something that, it's always cool. But another show that I want to touch on is Magnum PI.
Okay.
I loved Magnum. That was one of my other nostalgic shows just because of the car. Again, another show that I love just because of the damn car, the Ferrari. And I always loved that show because he's an actual PI who's living off his buddy's house, robbing masters, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And you're like, he's a dim-witted, flat-footed PI kind of guy, but here he is. The guy's 6'4" with a great mustache, man. I loved his mustache then. Even as Commissioner Reagan in Blue Bloods, he's still got that awesome stash.
He does. He still has that awesome stash. Still has that. What am I thinking of? He still just has that thing where you gravitate towards him.
Yeah, he should.
Gravitas. That's
Yeah, and that was just a great show. And and when we're talking cop shows, Miami Vice.
Yep. Miami Vice. Every single time when someone's about to die, in the air tonight.
Yep. And
So
I always loved the first episode because of the plot. You know what I mean? And the introduction of them and how Ricardo Tubbs becomes Miami PD, vice cop. And it's funny. It's like some of the stars of now you've seen in that show.
right.
Phil Collins was in there, and he's a
He was
natural
just
born singer, and he's a
right.
drug dealer. Who else was in there? Bruce Willis was in there.
Yep.
Ben Stiller. So a lot of the big names you see now were starting out. They started in Miami Vice, which is kind of funny. And you don't see that, you know what I mean? You don't see that on TV today now.
No.
And that's
No.
the thing. TV has dramatically changed from the 80s to now. And that's what I think I gravitate so much to the 80s. I love the 80s and 90s too. Don't get me wrong.
I love
But
80s and 90s stuff, but more towards the 80s stuff because of the fact
yeah,
that you have these lesser name household names that no one's even heard of. And then
right.
you're on this journey with them in a sense
Exactly.
where like, oh, now I remember him on a different world. Jim Carrey was on a different world. Oh, I remember Phil Collins being on this show or Ben Stiller being on Miami Vice. And
Yeah.
you're on this journey with him like, look how far he came. It's like opening up for us like a band, small band that makes it big. You're
Yeah.
on that same journey.
And again, like I said, we just scratched just a bit of the surface because there were so many shows. I mean, we could go on a 5-hour binge on this show, but we got to keep it where people still like to listen after a little bit.
Right.
The show, I mean, there's so many good shows, and like I said, we definitely scratched the surface, and I think we're going to be doing a 90s one together probably one day.
I'd like
and
to do that.
and I would definitely like to do that because I think we could do 2 parts of the 80s and 2 parts of 90s easily.
I'm fine with that.
And we'll definitely settle in, and we're going to talk about that probably a little bit after the show too.
Yeah.
We'll pencil some dates down, but we're getting come to that end now. I think we talked a lot of good shows. First of all, John, thank you for coming on. It's a true honor having you on.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
I was happy to be on your show, and we're going to talk too about me coming back on your show to talk about one of my favorite all-time movies up there.
Yeah, Shawshank Redemption.
Yes,
which
we're going to be.
I'm excited to be able to do that one with you because I've been wanting to review that one for a while. It's been, as a matter of fact, it's on my Blu-ray on my shelf because I'm a physical media collector.
It's actually in my laptop as we speak right now. So,
but yeah, it's hands down one of my favorites, and
yeah,
it's going to be great to have you.
Yeah, and I look forward to it because let me tell you, that's a long movie, but it was also a great book. But I'll tell you, I can't wait to get into that because there's so many details we could talk about that movie. And
Oh, I have plenty of stuff that whenever I ended up interviewing the casting director for Shawshank,
yes.
I can go into some stuff that happened on the set as far as paranormal events that
Hmm.
happened.
If anybody doesn't realize it, the base of the movie where the jailhouse was is actually Eastern State Penitentiary in
Yep.
Pennsylvania, which is well known to hold Al Capone in the Al Capone suite into the jail. But knowing that jail was very haunted. And I remember, I don't know if anybody watched a show called Ghost Hunters,
Yep. I've
and
watched plenty of those.
so did I, and that was still to this day still one of my favorite shows. And I was watching, and they did the one over Easter State live, and I remember seeing some shadows. You're hearing these. I'm a huge fan of that stuff too, of the supernatural. And again, as Ghostbusters, I believe in ghosts, so I believe in that stuff a little bit. Even though I'm a good Catholic guy, but there's some things that you
I'm a
believe
Baptist
in.
guy, but yeah, I believe in certain paranormals and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
I actually subscribe on a YouTube channel to this guy named Omar. He's part of the Omar Gosh
I've heard of that.
Yeah, he's good. Then you also have another one. He's actually a friend of Mo's. Not Mo, but Omar. There's also
Omar.
Mo Sargi, who,
Okay.
uh, who works with him as well, and he actually has his paranormal. He made it big now. He used to be a little small YouTuber,
Like
stuff like
us.
that too. And get this, he has his own show up on Hulu now.
Nice. Good
So
for him.
So yeah, he's got his own show on Hulu. It's fantastic. If you're into paranormal stuff,
I
check out
definitely
Mo
gotta
Sarge.
yeah, I
Yep.
gotta check that show out now because I'm a Hulu fanatic anyway, so I watch a lot of stuff. But John, let's talk to the sleepers. Let them know where they can actually find you and your show.
Okay, so you guys can find me at Movie Lovers TV Lovers Unite on Facebook, or you can just go on and follow me underneath Movie Lovers Unite on YouTube, and of course on the audio podcast as well. But you can also go on ahead and follow me underneath Movie Lovers Unit on Twitter. And also too, I want to throw this in there too, if you don't mind.
No, please.
But I'm actually going to be part of. Well, actually, I'm doing this thing that's basically a D&D style football game,
Nice.
and it's called Titans of the Turf. So basically, it's a fantasy league mixed in with D&D, and basically my team is called the Misfits,
Nice.
and I have Cartman on my team. I've got Batman as my quarterback, Wolverine as my running back,
Ooh,
and then another group of people, they have their teams too. They have Anthony from ACS Universe is on there too, and he actually has the bloater from The Last of Us on his team. So it's it's a great
oh my
fantasy.
god.
It's a great fantasy football type of setting, and you can find that on the the multiverse of geekdom. Well, multiverse. Hold on,
All right.
I'm screwing this up.
That's all
So,
right. I just screwed up the intros of my own show, and I've been doing this for over 20 some odd
oh,
episodes.
multiverse of geekdom. That's what
Okay,
it's
there we
called.
go.
And yeah, you can find me doing that as well over there. But yeah, I pretty much do my Cartman impression. I have Forrest Gump on my show, not on my show, but I have Forrest Gump on my
Nice.
team.
Nice. I was saying your show, really.
No,
You got a life is like a box of
Bugs
chocolates. You
chocolates,
never know what
right?
you're gonna get.
But
You
yeah,
never know how to run.
but this is my first time ever doing this kind of thing. I'm having fun, having a blast doing this football style thing with these other
Cool.
guys. But yeah, you guys can go on and find me over there at Multiverse of Geekdom doing that show. But as far as my regular shows go, that's what I'm doing. As far as that goes, of course, Brian was actually on the show, my show recently, doing reviewing That Thing You Do,
Yep. That's his
and
favorite all-time movie.
yep, and I was excited to actually do that. But yeah, we're gonna be dropping a lot more content. I have trailer reactions that I've been doing on my YouTube channel, so that's how I separate things from that. I do small movie news segments and stuff like that. So
One movie I'm
that's
looking
everything.
forward to is Fast 10, actually. So I'm actually
But
looking
yeah,
forward to it because I actually liked what they did for that movie. So, but if you want to learn more about it, check out his YouTube channel, guys. It's awesome. I've actually been on his show to do The Last of Us, which was a huge honor for me. check out his show, guys. And you see that little red subscribe button right down there where I'm pointing? Hit that subscribe button for my show and his show. Leave a 5-star comment. Leave a comment. Hit the like button. Enjoy the show, guys. We do this for a reason because we love it. And we love giving the information out to you folks. So from now on, I'm going to say good night. Thank you. Love, peace, and happiness. Everyone have a great week.